Good evening. I call the Monday, August 8th, regular business meeting of the Lee County Board of Education to order. Welcome and thanks for attending tonight's meeting, and Mrs. Ford will give the invocation.
Please bow your head. Heavenly Father, thank you for tonight. Thank you for the great opening that we had to school. Heavenly Father, when I looked at those children's faces, they were so happy. They're happy to be back. They're happy to be learning. You know, they're happy that they have teachers this year and that they're able to go to school. And Lord, when you look at their little faces, you just say, this is our future. This is where we're going, and we need to do our very best to nurture and help these kids grow. Heavenly Father, we love these children, and we thank all the teachers and the administrators and our bus drivers and custodians and maintenance and paraprofessionals and lunchroom workers, everyone that works so very hard to make their day a really special day. And we're thankful, Lord, and we thank you for your love. We ask this year for safety and for your guidance each day. Amen.
You have tonight's agenda before you. If there are no modifications, we can adopt by consent. Okay. First up, we have a recognition of the FCCLA Nationals. Dr. Miller.
Yes, ma'am. Lee County High School Family Career and Community Leaders of America advisor is Miss Danielle Whitaker, and she's here to talk about one of her students. It's a great thing that happened this summer. I'm going to call on you, Miss Whitaker, if y'all can come up here if you don't mind.
Good evening. I'm Danielle Whitaker, and I am the FCCLA advisor at Lee County High School. FCCLA is Family Career Community Leaders of America, and it is partnered with our pathway, Teaching as a Profession. And Caitlin Trulin was a 10th grader last year, and she competed in the Students Taking Action with Recognition competition. And out of 32 categories, she chose the Teach and Train competition and placed first at region, second at state, and ran the chance to go to nationals in San Diego, California this June. So we spent 7 days in California with over 7,000 people in the country, and out of her category, 30 people, she earned a silver medal at the national level, which means her ranking was between an 80 and an 89 out of 100. So very proud of her for that effort that she put in, the time she put in, and the time she volunteered to spend with me while we were gone, and just a lot of hard work towards her career and being a teacher. So very, very proud of her. Thank you.
Okay, y'all turn around so the board might want to say something.
Thank you. And we had a lot of support from our community in order to get her there. It was not an easy feat getting her from Leesburg to San Diego, and she worked her tail off to get sponsorships, get community organizations to stand behind her, and we're very grateful for our partnerships in Lee County that helped tremendously. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Congratulations again. Okay, next on the agenda we have Dr. Paul Shaw to cover the superintendent's evaluation, the new model. Dr. Miller.
Dr. Paul Shaw is a superintendent of the year in South Carolina and Georgia, and he's recently worked for the Professional Standards Commission, and he's one of the noted leaders in our state, and now he works for Georgia Leadership Associates. So he's met with us previously about this instrument, and you have a paper copy of it, and he's going to share a few words about it tonight.
First of all, it's good to see the four of you again, and look forward with you. Congratulations, Ms. Walls. I'm certainly happy for you. I always appreciate school board. They put in many hours in this a thankless job, and so thank you for allowing me to come. I told somebody that I was going to spend about 4 hours presenting, but really I will spend about 5 minutes, and then I kind of open up for questions. But just kind of wanted to talk. My understanding, I was scheduled to the July meeting, but you had a full agenda, and I think that y'all hired 2 new principals, and you hired a new baseball coach during that time. I know you did a lot of other things, but that was some main things on the agenda. And I will assume that when you hired these people who I call very visible, you want these individuals to be successful. Because when they're successful, then you're successful. So what determines success? I thought I'd pick on the baseball coach rather than the two new principals and decide how many games does the baseball coach need to win to be successful, the school year. Does he need to be undefeated? Or does he need to win a conference championship? I'm not sure what success is. I know y'all usually have a pretty good baseball program and a good record. So I think the board's got to decide what you would determine success. It may be that everybody's happy and the parents are pleased at the end of the season. But you all have different views on what's successful. And so success, when these new employees are successful, the board, the superintendent, and the school system share their success, because that's what you want. You want a successful school district, you want students to be successful in their endeavors, and you want the employees to be successful. And that makes it a win-win situation. You really don't want situations where you have winners and losers. Now, every once in a while that does happen, but the best scenario is to have situations where everybody kind of wins. And so I think with the superintendent evaluation, I believe you've established an evaluation system that will define success, because y'all did a lot of work on this. You got feedback from the community, feedback from employees, and you looked at the strategic plan as you worked with this evaluation instrument. And of course, you've had the goals established. You've got 5 goals, and then you've got indicators defined for each goal and what you want done. And then evidence will be provided so that it can affirm that goals have been met. And that's truly what you want, because you picked out what you want the school system to do and what you want to accomplish during the school year. And what you want the superintendent to do is to be able to provide you evidence that those things have been achieved. And with a win-win situation, again, board members, school district, and community members developed a strategic plan, and they've developed the goals. This is what your strategic plan is, what people said they want in their school system. And when these goals are met, the school system accomplishes the desired results. And you have student achievement and equity with 5 indicators. Goal 2, positive culture and climate, with 4 indicators. Goal 3, staff learning and growth, 5 indicators. Goal 4, stakeholder involvement and communication, 5 indicators. Goal 5, operations, organizational growth and diversity, 6 indicators. You really have 25 measures to emphasize for the school year. And I think that's a good bit, and I like the way that y'all put them in groups rather than trying to make each one of them individual. I like the way y'all have grouped them into the 5 goals. And so my question to you, you've seen what you have tweaked, and I would ask, do you have any questions or concerns about the instrument, because you're the ones that are going to have to implement it and complete it at the end of the year. What I will tell you is that I've looked at it. If I were superintendent, I'd feel comfortable with it. Is it perfect? There's never, I don't think, a perfect evaluation instrument, but I think it's better than what you've had. I think everybody is on the same page, and I think it will be something that will not be a chore, but one that you can look and say, yes, here's evidence, it's been accomplished, or no, this goal has not been met. And it's just kind of, like I said, it's very forthright, and it makes it easy, I think, for everybody, because it's kind of like at the end of the football game, we know who won. You can answer any questions you have.
I had a couple, and I should know the answer to the first one, so excuse me for that, because I don't. Did you write this, or did we write this as a team, and y'all put it together for you?
Yes.
Okay.
All 3. All of them.
Yeah. We started out with the draft with
Gotcha.
goals and all that and job descriptions, and then y'all tweaked it and looked at it, and Dr. Miller has some option. So yes, y'all have had a chance to put it in your format the way you want it.
Okay.
Look at some other models that were out there.
No, I mean, I like it. The only question that was, me and another board member were talking, and I remember when you gave us this last speech or talk, it was, I think you said something about you like to keep it simple. Like he either did it or he didn't do it.
Exactly. I never liked the 1 to 10 point scale or 5 point
Right.
scale, because I just felt like that everybody has a different interpretation. I just want to know, did they do the job or did they not do the job? And then if there's comments you want to make, like, yeah, you did the job, but it could have been better because of such and such, it just opens, it just gives opportunity for dialogue.
So one of the questions, though, I guess, because I like that too, but then we were talking about sometimes you have yeah, you did it, but it needed some improvement. You did it with needed a lot of improvement, and you just didn't do it tight. And I'm not saying which way's better, but at some point, say you went through these indicators, and maybe 2 or 3 of them you thought needed some improvement, but 2 or 3 of them were met expectations. At what point do you say the whole thing needs improvement? Because if either you do it or you don't do it, well, if there's one NI in there, you almost didn't do it.
Well, and that is a good question. I think that's something that each individual boards have to come to grips with on their decision making. I'm trying to take a lot of that out, but it's kind of like, I picked on the baseball coach at the start, and each of you have some idea of what will success be this year. If he wins 15 games and loses 8, is that still successful? And you've got to decide on each of his indicators. If he missed some, was it a real important one that you really wanted done? And I think that's in the comment section, is even though you indicate from evidence that it was done, it really wasn't done well, and we would like to see this, but I think you need to give a concrete example of why it didn't raise to the level, so that we all know what needs to be done. Kind of like the baseball coach, you won 15 games, but you didn't beat our 2 rivals, the biggest rivals, and next year, we want you to win those. And that just lets you right know that.
In looking at the evaluation system for teachers and leaders, which is TEKS and LEAKS in Georgia, and I do understand what you're saying about, having those 2 areas to make those decisions. Looking at the TEKS and LEAKS, there's 4. And it's 1 through 4 basically, and the highest is 4, the lowest is 1. But if you are evaluating a teacher or a leader, and you think, they are doing a good job, but they're not the absolute most exceptional teacher that I've got at this particular thing. I had a math teacher one time that was the most phenomenal math teacher you ever saw in your life. I mean, it was incredible, and the scores reflected, her effort during the school year. Looking at 3 and 4, I would do a 4, because there is evidence, that not only do I see it when I do the evaluation, but the student scores are reflecting, her ability to really teach. So the 3 and the 4 gives me flexibility of saying, you're not just satisfactory, you're very consistent in how you teach, and you work with those kids and you apply the standards. Okay, on the other end of the spectrum, you've got a 1 and a 2. So if I walk in and I do see evidence, but it is not strong evidence, and maybe we've had this conversation before about posting standards or ensuring that the students know exactly the direction they're going when you begin the lesson, and I don't see that there. It's not a failure, but it is not what I would call, consistent or continuous, So, and once again, I understand what you're saying, but it gives me personally more flexibility when I'm able to rate in 4 ways.
And I certainly can't argue with you on this. All perfect what I would tell you. I know some other evaluators, when they try to decide between 4 and 3, they go with a 3 because they don't want to give everybody 4s, and so they kind of penalize somebody. All I really would tell you is ultimately when you look at the teachers, you either go offer them a contract because their job was satisfactory, or you're not going to offer them a contract because their job was not satisfactory. And we can get into semantics, and we all know who's the better teachers and who's not. We're talking about one person here, not an entire faculty group. And I just think it's a lot easier to say, You did the job, but here's some suggestions for you, because if I had my way, I wouldn't do teacher keys either. I tell the teacher, you've done your job or you haven't. Here's the things you need to improve upon. Here's the things I really like. And that's the way I would do it. I'm just saying it's my preference, because it gives me an opportunity to praise people, but I'm not trying to get in, well, she's a 9, but she's an 8, and decide that. You've done the job, everybody can improve. Here are the things I want you to work on. Here are the things I really appreciate and you excel upon. And that's just, like I said, that's just my preference from being in education that long. I just hated to be where I had to give them a numerical run.
And when we started out Teacher Keys, we were to tell the teachers 3 was still good.
Yeah.
Now, there is not a teacher at my school that wanted to be a 3.
Or lower.
I mean, they didn't.
Yeah, you're right.
Because they worked so very, very hard, and I knew, I knew the teachers. And so, if at all possible, when you went in to evaluate, and you knew the scores, you could give them that 4.
Right.
And while the 3 and the 4, according to Georgia, is satisfactory performance, there is always going to be a strength of that teacher when you walk in, and you have the opportunity to not just do a 3, but to show her. And teachers themselves are geared to numbers. And leader keys can apply to, to all leaders in the school system. I believe in the past we've used leader keys to evaluate the superintendent. But then we kind of changed to a simpler form of evaluation. But, it gives you an opportunity to really let them shine in an area. And I don't want to use the word, 3 being a mediocre.
Right.
But the tendency is for our teachers to think 3 is.
I would agree with you 100%. It was always difficult for me to decide which one is 4, which one is 2. And that's why I kind of like the fact you're satisfactory. Everybody, you go get your contract back, but here are the things you do really well. That's kind of my focus. I was picking out the things that I thought they were really very good in, whether it was their presentations, or whether it was their interaction with the students, whether it was the classroom, whatever it was. That was my way. I could do it in writing. It made it a lot easier on me of not saying, well, you're a 4, but you're a 3.5, and somebody said, well, what's the difference? And me trying to describe other than say, well, this one did a little bit better job. So that's, again, I just like not having the numbers, but like being able to write my comments down.
Okay.
But that, again, that's just me, Ms. Ford.
That's okay.
Yeah, questions?
Well, it's not a finished product. We can certainly
And
adapt it.
what I'd
some
recommend
more.
is do it for a year, and then you might want to tweak it again, but so you've gone through it a year and seen how everybody feels about it, and you might want to tweak it some more. But I think what I would tell you is that probably at some point in time, whether it's tonight or in another one, you need to officially adopt this evaluation so that everybody's on the same page. And then, next year, if it needs to be tweaked, y'all will know what's wrong with it, can correct yourself. You're the board, you get to decide on how you go evaluate the superintendent.
But this is not the one that the GSBA puts out that like coincides with the strategic plan, and it pops up here with all these.
It's similar in format. We did some things differently from that. But it is not the same instrument as the GSBA.
So it's just
I think
one
that-
we would fill out. We don't have to point and click like. we
And I think GSBA also is a little more general in terms of, I think these are much more specific because you have the goals, the indicators, and the evidence.
And my thought process with it is I would like to send this home with each of you as a homework assignment for you to fill out and for me to compile it, and then for us to meet and discuss it and look at the changes before we finalize it. That's my thought, is going through it, so you're gonna have time to look through it, see what you like, see what you don't like, and if we need to, again, like he said, if we need to tweak it next year,
Y'all got all my
it can be a training
evidence?
document.
You got my book.
And it may be that you don't like some of the evidence that's being used, and you can say, we're not
may
going
get into
to
it,
use
so-
this evidence next year.
This was too hard to find. We need clarity, we need a hyperlink,
Yeah.
we need this, it's right in front of our faces, things like that. Then again, we just work through it to me and it'd be a working document.
I do believe this is going to be one that you'll find is easier and you'll all be on the same page. And I think it's also understandable when, as a superintendent, if I didn't meet a goal, I pretty much know it. Or if I didn't do it well, I pretty much already know it. And it keeps from one person rating an 8, one person a 3, and one person a 6. And that we just all avoid so you don't know what you're doing well. This way, I think it will be. As always, evaluation, you have to put the superintendent evaluation as the title. I don't need your name. If you can give it to Jennifer, she's gonna mail it. I'm gonna head out, and if there's some tweaks that we need to do at some point now, we're glad to do that, regardless, because we've already spent time, and I'll give you one too. And other than that, thank you for allowing me to come and work. Thank you for the job you're doing, because you do have a good school system, and I appreciate your work. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'll let you make them, okay? Thanks. You got the sign-in sheet too?
Yes.
It's right here.
Yeah, wait a minute. Y'all have a good meeting. Thank you for everything.
Next, we need to approve the minutes from the July 11th and July 26th, 2022 minutes from the regular meeting and planning meeting. May I have a motion to approve those minutes? Okay. May I have a second? Okay. Were there any questions, discussion? Being no question or discussion, all in favor, and it has been moved and seconded, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next, we have a presentation of the June 2022 financial report. Is there a motion to approve the June 2022 financials presented in tonight's board package? Okay, is there a second? Second. Are there any questions? Dr. Miller, do you have anything to add?
No, ma'am.
Being there no question or discussions, and we have a motion and a second, all in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 5-0. Next, you have tonight's consent agenda before you. Dr. Miller, would you like to discuss tonight's consent agenda?
Yes, ma'am. We have a brief consent agenda today. There are 22 recommendations for employment, 12 resignations, 1 retirement, 2 reassignments, 1 correction to a previous agenda, 5 fundraising requests, and 1 out of town or out of state or overnight field trip request.
May I have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda? Second. Okay. Are there any questions or discussion regarding tonight's consent agenda?
I do. The high school, the CTAE, it's personalized vinyl cutting. Tell me what that is.
Our CTA director is here tonight, so I'll
Where are we at, Dr. Miller? I'm looking for.
We are on fundraisers,
Yes.
and there is, you submit a request to the board to approve a fundraiser, and this is the form that goes along with that.
So the way that operates, we have it's like a big cricket machine almost. It's a big machine. It's housed in the library, and we make posters for the school. Teachers need stuff for the room. Dr. Hancock needs signs made for the walls, different stuff like that. Different clubs need signs. And basically, we operate that machine at the high school. We make those posters, and then the clubs or whatever organization that we're making for, they pay for that vinyl. They pay us, and it's just a fundraiser for CTAE.
Okay, and then there's one that is following that. I don't think there's quite enough explanation. It's the tidal wave car wash. And basically, it says car wash tickets, and you're raising funds for the club operation. Are they turning in their tickets? Are you selling tickets to the car wash? And are the funds collected and deposited with the financial secretary?
Yes, ma'am. The way that operates, it's like the discount cards that the football team sells and other people sells. They have that they sell those title wash cards. I can't remember if it's $15 or $20 or something, and then they're allowed to get so many washes on it, and it's at a discounted rate for whoever buys the card. But yeah, that money is all turned in and operated through Miss Kristen, our bookkeeper at school. That account, the FBLA account, is managed through Ms. Davis at the high school.
When you are filling that out, there's a box on the fundraiser form.
Okay.
And it basically says, you know, how are the funds collected? You know, how are they held, and how are they given to the financial person to put in your account? But that wasn't filled out.
Okay.
And we just need to make sure that the funds are being collected and deposited, you know, in the account that would go for CTA.
Yes, ma'am. I understand.
Okay.
Ms. Ford, if you'll let us know that, you know, when you see that, we could have easily had it here ready tonight. So if you'll give us an idea ahead of time, we can easily get that information for you if it's lacking.
Okay.
Because I overlooked it as well, and I usually check them before it even goes in the packet.
Right, but I mean, we could have had it for this meeting so that you wouldn't have, we don't want you to have any questions. We don't mind you asking questions, just we want to get it right.
Well, and I understand that. It's just that entire box is not completed.
Yes, ma'am. We should have caught that, but if you see that again in the future, just give us a call and we'll have it corrected and ready for the board meeting before the board votes on it.
Thank you.
You make sure that we get invited to all these.
All the car washes?
And we get an opportunity to participate with them as well.
Or some
A lot of
free
times
car
I don't
wash
even
card.
hear about some of the fundraisers, and
Right.
we want to be part of it.
He just wants a free card.
Are there any further questions or discussion? It has been moved and seconded that the August 8th, 2022 consent agenda be approved as presented. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 5-0. Next, we have the superintendent's reports. Dr. Miller.
We only have 2 reports tonight. The first is our SPLOST report. So far this year, we've surpassed $400,000 in SPLOST collection in 4 of the 7 months through July. And this past month, we collected $491,740.72, which is more than $84,000 above what we collected at the same time period in 2021. So at this pace, we'll surpass total collections for last year by our November board meeting. It's really encouraging to see our collections doing so well and performing strongly. And we, you know, before last year, I don't think we had ever surpassed $400,000. But we've done it several times in the last 2 years. So just really thankful for our citizens supporting businesses in Lee County, and it's really been a benefit for our school system.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You or Mr. Gary, I don't know. So I see that we're at record number of collections, and I can't remember everything SPLOST does, but what are we doing with all this record money that we're collecting? I mean, is it good? I mean, I know it's good, but I mean.
What happens is we will have some money left over. The bonds, this is still on the SPLOST. What's the number on the top of that? Anyway, our obligation at the end of February, we'll have like a $3 million bond payout, but we have some extra money left that we will have for other projects. At one point, we weren't projected to collect enough to pay it,
Right.
and so now we are. So we'll have some money to have some extra projects.
Good, okay.
Moving right along to plant operations, there's a PowerPoint that Mr. Rash sends over every month, and we can look at that and see some of the flooring at KPS on the second. And if you go over there now, that flooring picture there is different from the new flooring that has gone in on the kindergarten hall. It looks really good. Really excited about the project going on over there. You can see the boardroom, everyone can see, has been updated. We have new chairs, new furniture. We actually have some tables that are portable and they fold and they can be brought in if we have a professional development meeting. And we're going to try that out on Thursday, I think, with the meeting that Ms. Mamrie and Ms. Duke have planned. So we're excited about that. The next page is a list of some projects that our maintenance team completed. And one of the big requests we have from our cafeteria staff was some cool air in the kitchen over there. What used to be the dish room, we don't use the old, we all went to school with the plastic cups and the plastic trays. We don't use those anymore. So that is now the pizza room, and they installed some air conditioning in there. New paint at the West Gym, paint in the restrooms at KPS, and a lot of other painting around the system. And we remodeled the restrooms upstairs here at pre-K to make them handicap accessible. And we put in new flooring, new paint in those restrooms and cabinets. You can see that they've been very busy getting ready for school to start. On the next page, there's a picture of new fencing at Lee Elementary School. This is around the 2 playground areas. There's one on each side of the school. And then the next page is some of the parking and traffic flow at Lee Middle East. You scroll up, Jennifer. Yep. You can see that. Some new parking spots, and then we made a road into the football soccer field over there. And then a list of work that contractors did this summer. Our maintenance can handle a lot of projects, and we do a lot in-house, but when you're talking about a summer getting ready for a new school year, it's beyond our scope to do everything. And so we contracted to have new paving and the parking at Lee Middle West. And you can see a list of the projects there. I won't read them all to you, but quite a few things that were done. One of the big excitements for pre-K is the canopy at car drop-off, and Ms. Brown was very happy about that, because if we have one of those good South Georgia rainstorms, all the pre-K staff gets soaking wet, getting the kids in and out of cars. So that hopefully will help there. And the flooring at West is beautiful. If you have a chance to go over there and see that, or East, both schools have new flooring. And finally, he has some information about projects completed by analysis by type there. And we are making good progress with Lee Primary Project. The students are handling it beautifully. The teachers and staff, they're excited. Even though it's a construction zone going on while school's going on, we've had a good partnership with the contractors, and that's gone really well. So we're thankful for our maintenance and custodial and ground staff and all their hard work to get us to the starting line this year and to keep us going. And that's all I have.
Any further questions or discussion?
Have we made any decisions on the soccer field? I know we've been back and forth on a couple of things.
No, sir. We have a meeting next week, and I was unable to attend our last meeting, and where I could sit down with the architect and discuss that, so I'll be at the next one.
And then the tennis court coating, did we ever find anything on that?
Yes, sir. We know definite, but there are civil engineers working on it. That's supposed to be redone at no cost to us, and so I'm not sure where we are with that, but I know another system used the same contractor, had the same issues, and they went back and redid that close by system. And I talked with their superintendent, and they made it right. Apparently this was more than one site this happened at, so we're, I guess, in the line to be.
We can still use the facility, right? I mean,
Absolutely, yes, sir. It's very much a playable surface. It's just, it was too soon for there to be that kind of cracking that we're seeing.
I was very pleased at what we've seen over the kids Finney and elementary school. It was really good, and I'm real happy with the security that we've got going on and how clean the contractor's keeping everything. And So it's all positive, and then they kind of adopted the theme of construction for the school. And the art teacher needs to be commended for what she's done on the stuff that she's really made it look good on there. So.
Well, I don't know if Miss Yolanda has done this yet, but we'll get some pictures of that, the bulldozer and the beam and the teacher shirts they made this year. Primary, they love a good theme, so they adopted it and they made it part of it. And I would say, and it's not just primary. I was at one of the elementary schools today, and there's a giant pirate ship in the middle of it. So.
Well, when you left, they showed us the jacuzzi. And the teachers' lounge.
Yes, yeah, that's the teachers' area. Yeah, that's gotta keep our teachers happy. So, thank you for visiting today, and I know the other board members that visit really appreciate that. And you're always welcome to come and see it. And Ms. Devane and her team do a great job.
Forward. There were no requests tonight from the public to speak on any issues of concern to the board, so we will move on from the public participation portion. Next, we move to discussion and action items. We have been requested to approve the 2022 budget amendment. Dr. Miller?
Yes, ma'am. When Gary's building the budget, we have to estimate some of the funding we might receive, and in one area we do that is federal funding. So the budget was built with an estimate of $900,000 for Title I, but we actually received $970,933. Therefore, we need to amend the budget to reflect that appropriate amount that we actually are going to receive. So I recommend the board approve this amendment.
May I have a motion to approve the 2022 budget amendment as presented? Okay, is there a second? Okay, all right. Are there any questions, any more discussion? Being none, it is moved and seconded that the 2022 budget amendment be approved as presented. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 5-0. Next up, we have been requested to approve the for-year-end 2022 financial statement. Dr. Miller?
Yes, ma'am. This is something that we do each year. Mr. Kelly works very hard in the month of July to close out the books for the fiscal year. So you have a copy of the financial statements for FY22. These financial statements include a transfer of $3 million from the general fund to capital outlay to offset additional costs of the Lee primary renovation project. The first 2 pages are financial statements, including a balance sheet and financials. The third page is the summary or statement of actual financial operations, and this page requires the board members' signature, and we have to submit this to the Georgia Department of Education as part of our financial accountability. And I recommend the board.
May I have a motion to approve the for-year-end 2022 financial statements as presented? May I have a second?
Second.
Are there any questions or further discussion? Being none, it is moved and seconded to approve the for-year-end 2022 financial statements as presented. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have been requested to approve the policy IEDA, unstructured break time. Dr. Miller, would you like to read that?
Yes, ma'am. This past spring, the Georgia General Assembly passed House Bill 1283, or unstructured break time. This new law requires elementary schools to schedule recess each day, except on days when students may have PE, a field trip, assembly, or in the event of bad weather. This does not substantially change how our schools operate. It's just some new language is put in there, and the policy is longer than it previously was, but I recommend the board approve this policy as presented.
May I have a motion to approve policy IETA, unstructured break time as presented? Okay, may I have a second? Okay. Are there any further questions or discussion?
One question I had when I read through it was, I think, and then maybe I'm wrong, did it state that you can't use PE or not PE, but break time is like for yeah, I mean, you can't use it against a child, so you can't go out because you've been bad today, or?
Yes, sir, you are correct. There was a list of options that we had to choose from to adopt as part of this updated policy, and that's not the option we chose. The law's clear that it can be used as a disciplinary measure in the event that warrants it. As a former elementary principal, and I'm sure Ms. Ford knows this as well, sometimes boys are playing ball and they get mad and they just need the timeout for a minute, and that's just a normal activity that goes on in the school. So but we did not choose that particular option to include in our local policy. So, but this keeps us within the law, and this is based on the guidance of our attorneys and the policy update that we do with GSBA.
Anything else? Okay. It is moved and seconded to approve policy IEDA, unstructured break time as presented. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. We have also been asked to approve policy IKBB, divisive concepts complaint resolution process. Dr. Miller.
House Bill 1084 was passed by the Georgia General Assembly this past spring. Is referred to as the Protect Students First Act. This is a new law that requires each local board to prohibit employees from discriminating against students and other employees based on race. And therefore, we have policy IKBB. This is a result of this law. It outlines lists 9 divisive concepts and makes it clear that while these concepts can be discussed in a classroom, a school employee cannot espouse their personal beliefs or advocate for a divisive concept. And the way I see it is the teacher can't say, this is what you need to believe, or that's what, try to influence their students or the community for that matter. A requirement of the law is the establishment of the divisive concepts complaint resolution process under this policy. And we have that included in there. Jennifer, scroll into that part of it, and you can view this online. Again, this was developed through work with our board attorneys and the Georgia School Board Association policy partnership we have with them. And I recommend the board approve the policy as presented. Be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Is there a motion to approve policy IKBB, divisive concepts complaint resolution process as presented?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, are there any questions or discussion?
One thing I read was the state is supposed to also have something completed by is it this month, or? I know we were supposed to have this done by the 1st, but
They were supposed to be done by July 1st.
but they're not, what I understand.
Anything else? It has been moved and seconded to approve policy IKBB, divisive concepts complaint resolution process as presented. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have been requested to approve the revised 230, 230, 235, and 240 and hourly workday calendars. Dr. Miller.
we're asking the board's approval of this calendar update that affects certain employees. The new calendar takes into account Juneteenth, which is a state and federal holiday. This holiday impacts our employees who work 230, 235, or 240-day calendars. That's some of your principals, most of your central office staff, and many of our year-round employees, custodial maintenance, grounds. And so this would allow us to account for that holiday in the upcoming summer. Our teachers and many of our administrators are off contract at that time, so it doesn't affect them. That's the specific days are on that request for y'all. I recommend the board approve this revised calendar proposal. Mr. Dowling, we have a great calendar committee, and they work hard to prepare every year our school calendar. And this is just something that, this was so new. It really, the first time it was celebrated, we had just, it had just got approved in June of about a year ago, and then we had it come up again. And so Mr. Dowling has looked down the road to make a suggestion that I think is very good and appropriate so that we can take care of that in this coming year and the years ahead.
May I have a motion to approve the revised workday and hourly workday calendars as presented? Okay. Is there a second? Are there any questions?
Mr. Miller,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, I understand this because the commissioners just did that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but this is in June,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So we're out of school, correct?
Right.
So this, mainly this is going to be like your people that still here working? and
Yes, ma'am.
Like your custodians, your maintenance people, people like that still are here working. So they're the ones that they gonna get this day off. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. It's a federal and state holiday, and so we've consulted with other school systems about this, and we feel like this keeps us in line with both what the state government, Governor Kemp has done at the state level and the federal government. And you're exactly right. It affects those that are working in the summer. Really doesn't apply to our teachers. People on less than a 230-day contract. Teachers are 190-day contract, and then many of our administrators are on a 210-day. This only affects those that are like your middle school principals.
I think she's asking, it's not an additional day off in the summer though for those people. We were gonna swap a day that we would have been off in Thanksgiving probably. I don't know the exact date, but rather than getting off a day in Thanksgiving, we'll get a day off in June. So it's not an additional day off for the people that work in the summer.
Right. Yes, and good point, Mr. Kelly. That's true. Mr. Dowling worked hard on that with, to find a day where.
Okay, anything else? Okay, it is motion and seconded to approve the revised 230, 235, 240, and hourly workday calendars as presented. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And lastly, we have been requested to approve the purchase of a small passenger school bus using ESSER 3 and ARP HCY2 funds. Dr. Miller?
This is federal funding that we've got through the pandemic. HCY stands for homeless children and youth. And when we receive funding, we have to budget how we're going to use it. And as one part of our plan to use these funds, we would like to purchase a small passenger school bus to defray transportation costs for these students. Recommend board approve this.
May I have a motion to approve the purchase of a small passenger school bus using ESSER 3 and ARPAC 2 funds?
Make a motion.
Okay, may I have a second?
picked out a bus? I know we had a cost of around 60-something thousand.
It's
Yeah,
a
it's all that
15
Mr.
passenger,
Kelly.
but, we would get it in about October.
That's about availability. Is it a Bluebird or diesel, gasoline?
It's like these other ones we got around here, these 15 passenger buses, this is a Ford, I mean, pretty much, but
I noticed on one of the financial reports from the federal government, where the homeless line was, there was a 0 all the way across. That wouldn't show this funding on our.
no, this is only, let's see,
This is the,
I'm trying to find it on the. Homeless 00. We had not drawn anything, but that is for the month of June on that report. So that's the month of June only. So if it, like, what we do is we spend money 1 month and then we request money from reimbursement. So that would wash out in let's just say April. So if we spent 5,000 and got 5,000 back, we'd have a balance of 0. There was no activity in homeless for the month of June.
Any further questions? It is motioned and seconded to approve the purchase of a small passenger school bus using ESSER 3 and ARP HCY 2 funds. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And if there's no further business, I will adjourn the meeting.